So thank you. Good afternoon. I think sessions post lunch are always difficult. We call it in the advertising world the death slot. But hopefully nobody's going to die, and we'll try and make it as interesting. Firstly, big thanks to the E4M team. Naval is here and the entire team for putting up such a fantastic show on Confluence year after year. So thank you for inviting me again. I was there last year. This is a very tricky topic, so I'll try my best to do whatever little I can. Because culture as a topic is a very large topic. People have written books, documentaries. You can go on, and there is no one right or wrong answer. So, and I know it's a packed day, so I'll keep it brief, about 15 to 20 minutes max, and move on. We actually live in an era where culture doesn't just evolve, it actually accelerates. Every scroll, stream, and share creates actually a lot of micro shifts in how people think, behave, and connect. And what I'm going to do is in 15 to 20 minutes, look at how media can actually keep pace with that cultural velocity that all of us are experiencing in our daily lives. There's when we were thinking about this topic, I was saying, hey, how do you even define it? So many anthropologists have defined it in a certain way. Culture is the shared system of meaning, the stories, symbols, and rituals that connect all of us. It's not just art, music, or trends. It's all a collective sense making mechanism. That's one of the simpler way to think about culture. From art to reels, humans have always used media to express culture. With or without devices, we have always done that. Humankind is great. We have figured out new technology, and technology only helps us do this even more faster. This is a beautiful thing which, I was thinking about it, came across. Culture is visible in behavior long before it's reflected in data. You will see this, and sometimes they'll say, hey, culture. Last week to one of my teams, there's a micro culture which is happening. Some of you here will know. There's an interesting story snippet Fox and even the India media did called Bhajan clubbing. So some of you, yes, I heard a yes. So that is one of the trends, culture. It will start, if it becomes bigger, you may have larger cultures or smaller cultures. So before trends become hashtags or data points, they first show up in how people talk, how we dress, how we scroll or spend time. Culture always whispers before it shouts. So the bhajan clubbing actually was a whisper. I don't think many millions of people didn't see. It was just one news feed which just came in, but it started whispering. If you want to move at the speed of culture, we have to observe, we have to capture the culture, not just measure it, because that's where meaning really begins. And therefore it's a complex subject, this culture thing that we are trying to speak, because it can mean different things to different people, and we'll try and simplify it as much as possible so that it reaches a lot of you. So how do you really capture culture? These are 2 or 3 important points all of us know about it, felt it, maybe even expressed it. One is we observe the rituals. There are a lot of culture models, by the way. Many of you here must be from advertising background or marketing background, I am guessing. There's a very popular model called the Hofstede model, which was popular in 1990s, and it has seen many more versions of it. So if you are interested in knowing more about culture, go and see it. There are fascinating books around culture, the Culture Code, and many more. You can spend hours reading about culture and still not know what really culture is. But some of the simpler ways in which we capture culture is through observing the rituals, how people eat, shop, scroll, celebrate. All these are pointers which will help us do that. Even there are rituals. So for example, people who drink, when you're drinking a certain drink, there are certain rituals you follow, and that becomes part of the culture. Then you decode the symbols, either through language, and nowadays through memes or emojis, all kinds of filters, and following certain practices. It could be fandoms, it could be creators, it could be communities or subcultures. So These are things which, as human beings, we've always done and we continue to do. We may not know we are doing culture, but we all express it in our own ways. So culture actually can be tracked, decoded, and designed into action. So we have been at my agency thinking about it both locally, globally, saying, hey, culture is, in a sense, for some people it may sound very floof. Like, kya culture, kya hai? How do you say it? But is there a systematic way in which you can capture culture? And a couple of years back, actually, we did that, and I'm going to share what we did and maybe show you some examples which came out of that. We call it cultural intelligence, and we call it capturing cultures from signals to actually moving to strategy. We have a proprietary tool called Q. It's an AI-powered and NLP cultural intelligence platform, which tags signals to mega and micro trends that we track. We capture both fast culture and also slow culture. Culture is not unidimensional, it's not at one level. Fast culture picks news from social networks, news and blogs, while slow culture includes academic papers. It could be traditional news, it could be digital publications. This really helps to understand the forces influencing consumers, which brings us to why a consumer is behaving in a certain way. Because the first thing about a culture is all of this is so deeply embedded and we react in a certain way. That has implication both for the consumer, brands, and even at a country at a large. The tool that we have developed comprises of 150 plus mega and macro trends and what we call the elements of culture. And that gives us, and it's quite well predictive. We have tested over a period of time. There are a lot of data signals which is there. What I'll do is play a video from the global team which actually created, a couple of them who actually created. It'll give you a good insight of how culture and our system keeps learning real time. So if there are new data feeds, you can see micro trends happening and then you decide. And some cultures are large, big, some are, as we call, mega or macro culture. Then you decide what you want to do. So I'm going to play a small video to give you more sense of what really Q does.
What is cultural intelligence and what are cultural signals?
Think about culture as a network of values that guide every choice we make. From religion to which communities we belong to, which channels we watch, which brands we subscribe to. Think about cultural intelligence as the practice of understanding cultural change, because opportunity is in change, right? Also threats. So from our perspective, we have built a platform that's solely focused on understanding cultural change, right? It analyzes today about 350 million signals coming from a spectrum of fast to slow culture. So slow culture is science, is venture capital investment in new companies, is innovation, and fast culture is Reddit threads, is social media, is articles on the press, right? And what this platform does best is it analyzes all of that data and sees patterns and connects signals to a taxonomy of trends that we've been nurturing for over 10 years now that we call the elements of culture. And that allows us to really quickly query any space that you want to analyze. You were talking about health and exercise, and maybe we're looking at running clubs and we want to know how running club culture is evolving and what different subcultures are emerging within running clubs. Some people are running at night, some people are just like gender focused, some people are doing it before the beer, and so on and so forth. So we can understand the different nuances, and more importantly, so we can understand where running culture is going. So we put together a short demo for you, so if it's okay, like we can play it.
Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Using Q-Core, I can surface trends relevant to any brand, category, or topic. For example, a simple search for Cartier reveals the top cultural trends associated with the brand, or, as our strategist would say, where Cartier sits in culture. Each one of these hexagons represents a bubbling cultural trend. We call Q's taxonomy of trends the elements of culture. So some of the trends most associated with Cartier are new masculinity, near nostalgia, meme culture, and maximalism. Specifically, this number tells us that 43.6% of all signals relevant to Cartier are tagged to the trend maximalism.
Alex, what does this mean for media? So we have this deeper thing. We know we can tap into it using AI, but what does this mean for media?
Yeah, I mean, culture is huge in this space. Just to add context as we think about media, obviously we're very data-driven, as we've said. As Camilla's just touched on, it's how we use that data differently now that's really, really important. So if you think about it, you've probably seen 1,000 ads this morning. How many do you remember?
I don't think I've seen
any.
Not
many, right? And so that's why culture is really important to drive that relevance and understand that. So taking those signals, we connect that through the systems we have internally at Omnicom to connect that to specific audiences, all the way through to how we think about activating the places, spaces, decisions we make in media to actually bring that to life. So it starts to change the context in which we're showing up, as we've said. The demo that you've just shown, for example, right? Not just keywords, but actually those elements of culture can be things that we feed into these systems now to better target that context in a media perspective. And a big part of that is how you then keep that going in real time, because culture in the short term is very much real time. So how we think about real time dynamic PMPs and always staying at the top of that cultural trend for consumers.
Yeah, so I think all of you, the Q tool is very fascinating. You could have spent hours inside it, but I thought I'll just give you a sneak preview. 350 million signals daily we capture. What I was saying was you saw a very small demo, and big boxes, the pink color one, also told you the size of some of the cultures. So it's just not some random words, but some cultures are more important. Then it's up to the agency, brand planner, clients, which culture insights you want to use it and how best you can use it. I know we are on a short timeline. I would have loved to show you maybe 15-20 case studies, but for today's purpose, I've just chosen 3, 2 of which I'm sure you're very familiar with. I'll give you the context, show you the communication, and one is a global example, 2 from India, 1 from globe. The first one is one of the most celebrated work, which is for Ariel. A lot of people know this. The brand has long been a catalyst for cultural change, sparking conversations that challenges social norms. To stay relevant to the modern woman, it needed to confront an evolving paradox. While women are breaking barriers at work, true gender parity often stops at the doorstep. The laundry still remains deeply ingrained in Indian society as women's work, a bias rooted in childhood conditioning and sustained by everyday behavior, highlighting the unfinished story of equality at home. This, I think all of us would have felt it in some way. I have seen it in my own household, and many things have changed, but this bias unfortunately exists. And this led to a beautiful communication. I'm sure this entire group would have seen. For those unlucky ones, if you have not seen, this is a great opportunity. I'll just play it.
वो गीजर बंद कर देना. नहीं, तुम लास्ट टाइम भूल गए थे. पिया का नाइट सूट 3rd शेल्फ पे उसकी यूनिफॉर्म के पीछे रखा है. अरे बाबा ध्यान से देखो, वहीं पर है, ग्रीन वाला नाइट सूट पिंक वाला लॉन्ड्री में. कविता की सैलरी टेबल पे पड़ी है, उसे याद से दे देना. हाँ अच्छा, आई शुड बी होम बाय 9. आई कॉल यू बैक.
Congratulations, Ash. सिंगापुर जा रही हूँ ट्रेनिंग के लिए.
थैंक्स मैम. अभी मेल आया, बट आई डोंट थिंक आई विल गो.
Why? क्या? Such a great opportunity. तुम्हारे लिए और जिन्हें तुम ट्रेन करने जा रही हो उनके लिए भी.
It's just 1 हफ्ते की ट्रेनिंग है. इतने दिन मेरे बिना I don't know if the team will be able to manage. I think it's best if I stay back.
ये सारा काम तुमने भी सीखा ना? तुम्हारी टीम भी सीख लेगी.
Rohan, are we ready for the meeting?
Aisha, we're starting. Yeah, coming. Guys, did we update slide 16 with my changes? Sure, let's get the projector ready and I need to see those when start. Shekhar. क्या कर रहे हो?
ट्रेनिंग तुम्हारी सिंगापुर ट्रिप के लिए. ये सारा काम तुमने भी सीखा ना, तुम्हारी टीम भी सीख लेगी। ट्रेनिंग शुरू करें?
मुझको पता है मेरी खता है, पर मेरे दिल की इसमें रजा है। लफ्ज़ों का किसको ठिकाना पता है, पर मेरे दिल की इसमें रजा है।
I think beautiful communication. I am assuming all of you would agree. It's won, of course, a lot of awards, but somewhere it even touches your heart and brings about the bias, which is unfortunately there in a very beautiful manner. And if you really see what are the elements of culture in this, is actually invisible labor and emotional load, the new masculinity, gender role rebalancing, which has been brought to light, and aspiration versus tradition when she says, you know, I have to stay back. I think all of these elements of culture beautifully brought it out, and that's the power of having some cultural insights which is there. Moving on, this is a example of a global client during pandemic. They sell fitness bikes, and during the pandemic, they had a lot of brand awareness but low consideration, and therefore to shift perception, we needed to move beyond their identity as a bike company. It's a outside India brand, and reposition them as an inclusive fitness platform. I'm aware of the time, so I'll just give the top line. 3 broad cultural hooks or elements that we looked at. One was digital detox. One was warm tech, where consumers are looking for technology that reflects their humanity. And the camera culture, which was very much on and came to the forefront during the pandemic. The pervasiveness and sophistication of the cameras embedded in everything that we did. Using that, we created a solution, a simple solution, a custom live workout class that redefined the brand's wellness mission, broke the connection of being a bike company into a holistic fitness company. And it did wonders for the brand. Of course, awareness also went up and consideration went up during that period. The last case study is again an Indian one, which all of you can fairly, one would argue, not an exciting category, but how do you bring in? This is for ACO insurance. Insurance as a category has long suffered from, disinterest, distrust, and disconnect. For many people, we see it as complicated, intimidating, and very transactional. Probably we'll all think of insurance either during our tax, when we have to fill our tax forms and stuff like that. For a born digital insurance built on transparency, speed, and simplicity, the challenge was fundamental. How do you shift the narrative from boring necessity to smart safety? That was the problem statement. And this is what the agency created. Beautiful piece of comms. And then I will tell you the cultural insight sitting there.
अरे बाबा, कोई भी हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस पूरा कवर नहीं करता. सिरिंज, कॉटन पट्टी, इन सब का पेमेंट आपको अलग से करना पड़ेगा.
सर्किट, ये तो ऐसा हुआ कि शर्ट खरीदा, बटन का पैसा अलग, जूता खरीदा, लेस का पैसा अलग, गाड़ी खरीदा, स्टीयरिंग व्हील का पैसा अलग.
हेलो, हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस में ऐसा ही होता है.
काश इसे किसी ने बताया होता कि हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस की दुनिया बदल गई है. इंट्रोड्यूसिंग ACO हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस, जो देता है 100% बिल पेमेंट, नो डिडक्शंस.
हेल्थ इंश्योरेंस की सुबह हो गई मामू.
A very popular campaign run across media for now over a year, resonates well, brings about a smile in a category which is people don't even remember. Which insurance, everything looks similar, very distinctive, and the elements of culture was near nostalgia. And this is something all of us would say. Those days when I was 15 years back doing this, or my younger days I was doing this, people like those stories. So it brings back those stories. It's a great communication which also plays on this meme culture, and there is also icon toppling, as we call it. These are the hidden, cultures which are playing, which is what makes it memorable, distinctive, and this campaign is done very well for the client. So now, I would have loved, as I said, to show you maybe 20 case studies, but paucity of time, I've just chosen random 3 out of that. But what does it mean for marketers, brand owners, agencies? What are some practical tips that they can, take it forward? To me, there are 4 things. The first is culture is the new context engine. Marketers must shift from, of course, reach is still very, very important, but how many people we can reach to, that one important question to how culturally relevant our messages are. Many of the briefs that we get today, at least 5 or 6 briefs that I'm currently looking at, all says, tell us the cultural insight which you can bring back into media. So that's a good starting point for brands which are doing that already. Speed matters. Culture evolves in real time. Some of the campaigns that you showed had big macro trends, but there are also micro trends. So how do you quickly do this? The window for cultural relevance now is becoming narrow because of the complex world that we are living in. Brands must anticipate it, act and in fact iterate quickly, and not be stuck in long lead cycles. So agility becomes extremely important, both from the brand owner side, the agency side, the media owner side. Third is data plus culture is competitive advantage. The old ways of working about culture was more a few people who were well trained, but with so much of millions of data is giving you, but you can now take some more informed decision around that. And brands which can use some of their tools like us, I'm sure there are other tools in the market. If you can use all of that, you're going to be in a much better place and actually put a value on the size of the culture. So it's not like I like this culture resonates with 50, 60, 70% of the people. The last point is brands must evolve from message makers to culture builders. And here the opportunity is to build platforms, rituals, communities, and product experiences which become part of culture. There are hundreds of examples which are there on digital front. Many new brands are doing it. That itself will take a longish time, but these are 4 things. If anyone says, when a brief is done, okay, I want reach, but can you also reflect on some of the cultural insight is a good starting point. And last but not the least, the best media doesn't follow culture, it becomes it. The question for us as leaders is, are we catching up to a culture or are we co-creating it? The opportunity is immense to put culture at the center of every activity, every brief, every idea, every impression, because that's where meaning, momentum, and growth meet. You saw some of the examples. I'm sure you're going to go back and at some point in time, it will touch your heart in some way. The emotions and the brand connectors happen, and that's what we need to do more. With that, thank you very much. I've saved you 1 hour, 1 minute and 45 seconds. It's a good media plan.